welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are back for another episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and this is season 6. This is episode 18, and this is reunion part 2, extended and uncensored version. And this is going to be the Peacock version, of course, which is why the timing is when this comes out and stuff like that, because I don't have Bravo anymore, so I only watch the Peacock version of anything and everything. But before we get into it, so for reunion part 1, sorry, it was clear to me that Lisa was a winner. Lisa was ready for round 1. Now round 2, aka reunion part 2, I feel that in part 2, Mary was a winner. Mary was a winner, and remember, I've been saying this for some time now. I was so right about Lisa and Mary. They do not mess with each other. They have never messed with each other, and it is what it is. And it's really on both sides, but let Lisa tell it. It's on Mary's side, but no, it's on both sides. So we're going to get into that. They kind of got into it during the reunion, which was, I was not expecting. I thought it was going to be kind of the Cold War thing that they've always kind of had this whole entire time. Because if you notice throughout the seasons of this show, especially since Mary's been back, Mary has made a point to really not really interact with Lisa often. This season she did a little bit more because I think Mary is really trying to be involved as far as like, you know, she's part of the show now. Like, I feel like the first 2 or 3 seasons, well, I don't feel, it was an obvious thing. First 2 seasons, Mary didn't really understand the show and she didn't really want to be part of the show. But she is clearly, the show wouldn't happen without Mary. The season that Mary wasn't on, that was not a good season. So Mary is the face. You know, as much as Heather wants to be the face of the show, which she kind of is to a certain degree, she is not. I mean, she kind of is, but without Mary, the show ain't doing what it needs to do. So and I feel like this when it comes to most of the cast members of this particular franchise, everyone has their part, everyone has their role. And this part 2, honestly, I think part 2 was a little bit better than part 1 because it kind of went in places unexpected. And also too, you know what, let's get in order of things because I feel like I'm kind of rambling and you already know how I do. I'm a little long-winded, so let's get into it. But before we do, you know, I like to share what's going on with me and how I've been. Hi, guys. I've been doing well. If you notice, you probably don't notice this. I have my hair straight, and also, too, you might notice this, my hair is a little bit shorter. Yes, I trimmed my hair yesterday. Finally, I've been needing to trim my hair. Before I trimmed it, it was like, my hair was like to here, but it was like split ends. It looked crazy. So I finally got it cleaned up, and I'll show you a picture of how it looked styled yesterday. She was cute. She was cute. She was cute. But anyway, enough about me. Let's get into the episode. So we continue where we left off, where we have Angie. She's introducing her prop, aka the scroll, and the scroll holder that Meredith actually got for her. Which, side note, I am glad that Meredith and Angie are in a better place. Also, too, I will say this. Angie, for the most part, outside of this particular first part of the reunion, of the second part of the reunion, has been kind of on mute. So I'm a little confused why she's seated where she's seated at, because she doesn't really have much to say. And I'm getting sick of Heather. Just in case y'all forgot, if y'all, I don't know who are Heather Gay fans, but you shouldn't be on this channel, because I got a lot to say when it comes to her behavior with this reunion. But I am going to give her things too at the same time. But anyway, so we start off where Angie, basically in this scroll, she actually has receipts, proof, timeline, screenshot. She got right there. She has it. Shout out to Heather Gay. She has it in the scroll. She basically shows screenshots of this burner account on Instagram trolling her. And she states that based off of what she figured out, this is a Lisa account that she did this. And Lisa, of course, immediately denies it. She denies it completely. And this leads to just a yelling match amongst all the women, basically. It's really between, because somehow Lisa tried to blame Whitney and say it was Whitney's, which made no sense. So it was like Whitney yelling, Lisa yelling, and Angie yelling. And so they're just all going, oh, and Heather. Heather, this whole entire part 2 of the reunion would not shut the hell up. She was so insufferable this second part. And so she's yelling, and Andy just has enough, and he walks off because they're not listening to him, and they won't get quiet. And they're yelling so badly that no one understands what they're saying because no one could get a word in. It was actually really, really, really bad. Now the walk off with Andy, I know based off the preview for the reunion, it gave way more dramatic than what it was. It really wasn't that serious. It basically was what it always is for this particular franchise. Everyone talks over each other and no one listens. And normally he says Oprah, like I feel like the last reunion, Oprah was a thing where he had everyone shut up. But this time he couldn't get them to shut up. And then Mary, being the mediator, was like, everyone be quiet. And everyone was like, oh my gosh. And Heather and her inseparable stuff was like, oh my gosh, Daddy Andy, come back, Daddy Andy. I was like, is anyone else annoyed and sick of the fact that, like, literally Heather laughs at everything? She laughs everything off. It's kind of creepy. I mean, I get laughing when you're nervous and stuff because I'm like that. I also sometimes laugh when I'm scared, but the laugh is not the same as a normal laugh. Like, it was just really weird. She's just cheesing and just, oh gosh, it was just really annoying. But anyway, then amongst the chaos of Andy finally coming back, Meredith calls out, no, I think it was Lisa. Lisa calls out Heather for still having a photo of Meredith and the man that she was dating at the time when her and Seth were separated. And basically calling out the fact that Heather is a snake. And she really is the one, like, as much as Heather is trying to accuse Lisa of doing all these things, is giving, really Heather does a lot of these things, but she gets to hide her hand. She throws her rocks and hide her hand. And I believe that. That is very, if this reunion didn't tell you that, I mean, I feel like watching the show long enough, you would figure that out. And really the black eye incident kind of solidified how non-trustworthy Heather really is. This season alone tells you Heather ain't ish. And she, as much as she is accusing Lisa of doing these things, she is equally responsible and does a lot of these things because she is just always looking for a moment. This reunion was telling of how much she was looking for a moment. Because at this point, Heather is talking more than everyone else, but does she have any storyline in sight? Don't worry, I'll wait. No storyline in sight. At least with Lisa, she had something going on when it came to her and John. Whether it was true or manufactured, it doesn't matter. She still had something. You know what I mean? Honestly, when you look at this cast as a whole this season, a lot of them did not really have a storyline, but they weren't insufferable like Heather. So anyway, that's kind of what my thought is on that. And then after all this, we cut off to lunchtime. As we are at lunchtime, we have bad weather. They're talking about Meredith and how Meredith's behaving. And they're basically plotting and scheming, as bad weather will do. And then we then see that Bronwyn, Angie, and Mary, they're talking about Lisa and how Lisa is restraining herself. It's very clear that Lisa is restraining herself. Lisa clearly has done her homework. And we called out when we were reviewing part 1 that Lisa, in her movements, she is trying to not sound as erratic and yelling all over the place like she normally does. She's getting to her points. She's letting the girls know and doing what she needs to do. And she's a lot more, focused, it seems like this time around. They just kind of call that out and observe that. And then Meredith and Lisa, they're talking strategy because they know that the playing instant's going to come up and they're trying to figure out how are they going to continue to have each other's back. And I wrote in this, there's definitely two alliances happening and then one group with no dog in the fight. Because honestly, the way I see Angie, Bronwyn, and Mary, they're kind of neutral. Really, the only one that is truly neutral for the most part is Mary, except for when it comes to Lisa. But when it comes to everything else is going on with this group, Lisa and Brittany. But those are on two opposite sides of what's going on. So really, it is giving that Mary is neutral, if you want to call it that. Bronwyn is neutral because, for the most part, I think this reunion, I don't know if she's really neutral, but I think coming next season she will be, because I think this reunion revealed to her how much Heather really can't be trusted. And so if she knows what's good for her, she would, still be nice to Heather, play nice or whatever, but keep her good eye on her, because she can't be trusted, especially after what was revealed in part 1. And Angie, she don't really want any smoke from anyone. She's trying to mind her business. She's really following suit from Mary, if it makes sense. And honestly, I'm kind of glad she is, because we can't have Angie always exploding. And really, who is Angie going to argue with again? Most likely Lisa. And we can't, it's regurgitate, it's getting tired. Leave it alone. And I'm glad that really after the scroll part, this little first part, that was pretty much all we got from Angie in reference to really going back and forth with Lisa, which is good. Anyway, let's move on. Wow. So as I was talking, I was trying so hard not to sneeze because I literally had whisper hair, just whisper fur, just right here, just tickling my nose. And side note, I'm actually kind of surprised Whisper's not here, but maybe it's also because I'm actually doing my review a little bit later, and I've been giving her all the love, and I was like, let me give you all this attention in the world, so that maybe, just maybe I can get through a review without Whisper messing up my setup. I mean, she can make an appearance, but you know how we already seeing how she be doing. Anyway, let me keep going so that we don't have that happen. So next we have the Mary segment. And we show her with the church being reopened. We show her being a mediator amongst the group. And then, of course, we talk about Robert Jr. and what we have going on. And then immediately after we go over the footage and everything, we see that she is breaking down because of everything that's going on with her son. And she actually is fully transparent in the second part of the reunion. She basically says, hey, he's in jail. He was being delusional, thinking that his ex-wife family is holding her hostage, which wasn't true. And we find out when he got arrested this last time, he even got tased because he was probably very much under the influence and just out of control. So they probably had to do something to restrain him, which, side note, considering the fact that he is in Utah or Vegas, because I don't remember which place it happened at, because we know that Mary also has a house in Vegas. That's really fortunate of her that fortunate for both of them that's all that happened. Especially him being a black man in America, in this America, that he only got tased. So basically she breaks down though and states that, she'd rather he be in jail than anything else, because this way he basically is forced to be clean right now. And she basically says she still is constant contact with him, but she will not go see him in jail, rightfully so, and he's learning the lesson the hard way, basically. We find out that Robert Sr. has visited him or will be visiting him and has been sending him books because he's been asking for books. And so they find out later on this year if he is going to be staying there longer, what his future is regarding his sentencing, if he's staying longer or if they're going to release him. Honestly, I really hope he stays as long as he's need to be completely clean and sober, because unfortunately him getting clean this way, it of course isn't ideal, but especially with him having a clear head now and being in there, maybe that will scare him straight. And that's, I feel like, what Mary is hoping for, unfortunately. And then we go from talking about that to talking about her mother. And I mean, she kind of said it without saying it, that she is really learning how to parent on her own because her mom didn't really parent her. You know, she got kicked out when she was 18. And because Mary was rebelling, you know, doing what young adults do. It doesn't sound like from her past she's ever dabbled in the drugs of it all, but it seems like she probably was just, you know, being, you know, rebellious. And so we talk about, also with the Robert Sr. books, Heather in her book comes out. So you're welcome, Heather. You should thank Mary for plugging your book about like, hey, you know, I should have him read your book. And we find out from this that Mary hasn't read her book, but we do find out that she does have a chapter about her in the book. And if I was you, Mary, I would read that chapter before you give that to him. But I guess, you know, we know as much as we hate Heather, especially lately, clearly Heather and Mary have turned a corner and they're doing okay. Anyway. And so when we talk about Mary, mom's passing, and she doesn't feel away. She doesn't feel like she should have, you know, had any closure. Her closure already happened because they've been estranged for over 20 years. And then from there, we talk about the documentary and the cult thing. Mary did call out that, you know, that Whitney said the thing that they're saying in the documentary on TV before, which she did. We see the footage, and it's like Whitney and Lisa. And Whitney apologizes yet again, and she gives her thoughts. She's like, you know, I think, you know, whatever we see here is what it is. And then Lisa tries to kind of have her back in her own way. She's like, it's old news, you know, it's whatever, you know. And honestly, is Lisa speaking for Mary because she likes her? No. She's speaking for Mary because all the women on this show know that Mary is crucial for this show to be successful. Let's be so for real. Would a lot of us, I mean, because Mary's a fan favorite. And they also did share how, like, people are refusing to watch a documentary and basically have Mary's back. I might be a hypocrite, but me included. I love Mary, you know, honestly, I try to separate for the most part when I'm looking at celebrities or people that are high profile and or influencers that I don't know these people in real life. They don't know me in real life. So I'm just going to go off what I see on TV, and I find her entertaining. So it is what it is. As long as I don't hear anything extremely horrendous about you and like it's proven, because I think with Mary, we've heard these things, but we don't know it to be true. And Mary even says, like, you know, I don't know why these rumors started. Is it because I'm like one of the only black churches in Utah? And because it's a Pentecostal church or my Mormon church? There could be a lot of things behind that, but believe what you want to believe. At the end of the day, no one on this show is not above a moral high ground, including Mary. You know, would I go to her church? No, but I'm also someone who, in recent years, it's not really my thing. I'm a spiritual girly. I believe in higher power, and that's that on that. But anyway, so then somehow we got back to like the Church of Satan, and we find out there are two different churches of Satan, which I did not know that. There's a charitable organization, which we conclude, and Bronwyn is speaking about this too, because Lisa did say, yeah, she did, because apparently the actual Church of Satan, she did not actually give tequila to. But the other one that does the charitable thing, she did. And all the women are just like, okay, Lisa, what the hell? But like, Lisa's like, it's business. At the end of the day, it's business. And I'm like, it kind of is business. I mean, it is. Unfortunately, we're in a capitalist society. And if you're going to do that, I guess you're going to do that. I don't know. I wouldn't do it, but neither here nor there. And then from there, we get into Mary versus Brittany. And from what I gather with the Mary versus Brittany thing, and this is actually kind of important for later on in the episode of this reunion, Brittany is not who we see on TV. There is a much darker, deeper criminal link when it comes to her. Not that she actually is criminal, because for this franchise, I probably shouldn't say that, because the Housewives and them going to jail, that's the whole entire thing. But that's not what I meant by that. I literally mean we are seeing her doing a caricature version of herself and not really the real her. And from what I'm gathering from both Mary and Meredith to a certain degree is that, and even Lisa to a certain degree, that she on TV, she's doing a whole entire act as like this Disney princess, but she is a lot more darker in real life, which honestly, considering the fact that she is actually friends with Heather Gay, that tracks, because I feel the same way about Heather. Like, and maybe it has to do with the Mormon thing of the Stepford Wives front, but really you are just like this another completely different person in real life. Who knows? But it's kind of alluded to that there's a reason why something happened that is outside of what we're seeing on the show, as into why Mary and Brittany do not get along. And Mary made it clear that Brittany instigates things, but then tries to play victim. So we never did get the answer of what exactly did Brittany say to cause Mary to say the things that she said about her. Because the reason why this even came up was the comment that Brittany said about Mary being unchristlike. And Mary's like, well, what did you say to me that led for me to say that about you? We, of course, never got the answer. But this kind of tells me that Meredith, for this playing incident, yeah, she was wrong, but something happened more than what we know on the Brittany side that is making her seem not as innocent as what she's trying to give us and what we've been really kind of thinking for in a lot of ways this whole season. Okay. Anyway, and then from there, another thing comes up about Meredith not having Lisa's back. Basically, Mary stands by that. She's like, you don't always have Meredith, you don't always have Lisa's back. It just is what it is. And Meredith and Lisa, of course, go on the defense. And they're like, we're good friends, so why would you say this? And then, of course, Mary's like, you are now. And she's like, and Lisa, trying to be nuck if you buck, she's like, what'd you say? You are now. I was like, Mary. And Mary calls out the BS. She's like, look, when you said that Meredith F'd half to New York, y'all were cool then? Like, I was like, yes! And at this moment, for those who know that watch other reviewers' content, this is when I just wanted Kim Pyre's thing, because he created the thing, so I can't use it. But like, where he just like does the thing of the hot mic, because I was like, yes! So when I watch his review after I get finished doing this review, I know I'm going to have me a time. Because he's going to play it multiple times, because it came up a couple times in this reunion. So it was great. And basically, Lisa's getting defensive, and same thing with Meredith, because they're just like, why can you guys not believe that we're cool now? And Andy chimes in, he's like, because it's kind of unbelievable, because y'all went from being so much not cool to now you guys are cool. And they're just like, well, this happened like 3 years ago. Like, it's not recent. Like, we worked hard on getting our friendship back. And do y'all believe that they really have a friendship, or is this an alliance? I feel like it's really an alliance, and they have respect for each other and love for each other because they know each other. But I don't think they're really friends like that in real life. I honestly don't think Lisa and Meredith are friends with anyone on the show, actually. And that's kind of part of what we're seeing here. And that's why they've alienated themselves in a way from the other ladies because of that. Anyway, but basically Andy has Mary's back. Mary calls Lisa out about her, because Andy then mentions so how'd you feel about Mary having your back? And Mary's like, oh no, she doesn't even know. She's all about Lisa. She don't care about anyone but herself. She probably don't even know what you're talking about. I was like, oh my God. And Lisa was stuck. And she was kind of computer malfunctioning. And all the other women who were on the other couch, they were just like, ooh, popcorn. They were on mute just watching it and observing it. And they're just like, look at Lisa. Because Lisa is just like this. And she has nothing to say. And you could tell she is restraining herself from going off. She kind of did somewhat go off on Mary, but Mary's like, don't do that. Because what is so amazing about Mary is she can get you together without using a single curse word. And that is a wordsmith. Okay. And I love how like that. So that's why I said this part alone made me say Mary won part 2 of this reunion, because she got Lisa together and packed her up like it was nothing without using a single curse word. And so basically this is where we see that Mary and Lisa do not mess with each other. And Mary brought up how Lisa was also part of calling of saying that Mary's church is a cult. And the thing is, when it comes to all the things that Lisa has said bad about Mary, because Lisa's trying to say like, well, you know, you hold grudges, you don't forgive. She's like, no, that is you. You don't forgive. You still haven't really. And the thing is, we kind of knew this, that Lisa never did own up nor apologize to any of the bad things she said about Mary. And allegedly, behind the scenes last season, they had a major fight, which we never did get to the bottom of because they cut it out. Because Mary went to hell. Well, Lisa went there first, and then Mary went to hell. Allegedly, Lisa basically made fun of Mary's son, basically called him a drug addict, which I mean he is, but like she used it as a dig, while she was in the middle, in the thick of her finding all this out the first time. Mary was finding this out. And so she basically called her kids the R word, which is why that got cut. Allegedly. So I don't think there was ever resolve from that, which is why I've always kind of had my good eye on how them two interact on camera. If y'all were wondering why I always be calling it out, that was why. Anyway, enough of that segment. Moving on. Child, I'm really long-winded. So now we get to the flight of it all. And we find out, womp, there really was no footage. No one recorded it. No one. So did we get a payoff from this? Absolutely not. We did not get a payoff. Which I'm kind of irritated by that. I'll be honest with you. But am I surprised? No. And so Brittany, so then they're showing all this. They're basically showing everything that happened with Brittany that led to the incident with the flight. So we see Brittany first kind of going after Meredith and saying the rumor about Seth in the footage. And so it's basically, this is kind of like the Brittany segment, but it's really the playing incident. Because I don't know if Brittany's going to have another segment. I don't even know if Brittany's going to come back based off of how this ended. But, well, not come back to the show, but come back on stage. We'll get into it. And so we get like the whole entire thing, what led to the incident. And so Andy asked, where do Brittany and Meredith stand? They're like, we don't stand. We're like, we don't talk to each other. Like, there's no communication. And so then Brittany still does this halfway apology of like, she's like, yeah, but this is what gets me about Brittany, because she be trying to say, she went back to saying that she did not bring this up to be malicious, but we know she brought that up to be malicious. The way she goes back and forth on saying that, I understand why Meredith is upset. And the other women do try to give Brittany some bails, like, well, you know, marriages get brought up on this show a lot. It's not just yours. So you flipping out the way you flipped out was not okay. And Bronwyn's just honestly, oh, side note, Bronwyn, this whole entire like part 2, it was like she wasn't there. I don't know what was going on with that side of the couch other than Heather doing too much, because Heather was doing too much. But like, it was quite annoying. I just want to call that out, because Bronwyn also was kind of quiet, but Bronwyn's just like, why don't you own? She basically was kind of saying stuff under her breath, like, you know, Meredith owns something, you know. And she also said, mentioned earlier on before she said own something. Side note, my partner in crime's coming in. I knew she was gonna come in. She couldn't. She cannot help herself. Hey there. Hey Whisper. What's up? All right. Good girl. Okay, so I told you. Oh yeah. So then Bronwyn was like, well, marriages get brought up on this show all the time, but you didn't have to react the way you reacted. She's like, people were constantly talking to me about Todd, but I didn't go attacking people. And, you know, I think then, I can't remember who brought it up, but like Angie I think it was Meredith. Meredith was like, Angie went wild when her marriage got brought up for like 2 seasons straight, which actually was very accurate. Angie was activated for 2 years over her man being brought up. So yeah. And so then from there, Brittany, so something happened with Watch What Happens Live, where Brittany was on Watch What Happens Live and says she has proof that Seth has been cheating on that Seth has been cheating on Meredith. It turned out it wasn't proof. It was just her talking crap and her and Jarrett manufacturing a story, which is like, this is why I'm starting to I'm starting to be on Meredith's side. And I'm starting to be on Meredith's side a little bit more. I think that, I don't know how much Brittany can be trusted. Because it seems like, and then even Mary said this, Brittany likes to push to people to react, and then we don't see what led to them reacting, and so it always looks like the other person's overreacting, and then she plays victim. And it's a rinse and repeat cycle. The only problem is she's doing it with the right person, who is Meredith, because Meredith also does a very similar thing, so you don't really know who to believe. It's tricky. But anyway, so Meredith, in the middle of this chaos, calls Seth, and Seth was basically said, no, this did not happen. And then we also see how Jarrett was trying to be super messy. But we didn't see what they're alleging that Jarrett. So basically, Meredith alleged that Jarrett was trying to say that someone was asking for one of the husbands to go to Dubai or something ridiculous. We never saw it. And apparently this happened at Amy's party. So we saw Jarrett was talking to someone, but that's all we got. And Lisa was trying to get the information out of him, and it never happened. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so then next we go into why did no one record it? And Heather went on her self-righteous soapbox, basically saying, you know, when Whitney was like, my one regret is not recording it, I thought to myself initially, what a piece of ish for someone to decide they're going to do that. And she basically indirectly called Whitney a piece of shit. And I'm sorry. What sent me about this is that Whitney had such a delayed reaction. She's like, what? What? As Meredith and Lisa and Mary all caught it right away. And Whitney was like, I was like, Heather, you ain't shit. But that was funny. That was so funny. I was like, oh my gosh. But then the viewers basically call Heather on her BS of her being a hypocrite. Because we found out, and I remember this a while ago, but I just forgot, that Heather recorded the incident when Lisa lost her ring at the airport on the way to Palm Springs. She recorded that, but she tried to say that would be so messed up if Whitney was to do it. And now, and really, I'm just like, girl, you only feel that way because it wasn't you who did it. I'm so sick of Heather. And then out of nowhere, Heather and Meredith are going back and forth. And Heather's denying being on Meredith's neck the whole entire time, which is a lie. She was. And then she also denies, she basically tries to say she was on Meredith's side. You never were. You lying. Girl, you are lying. She's trying to basically feed us this revisionist history and gaslight Meredith and the rest of us. And then she was just like, you know what? I'm so done with you. I'm so done with you. You know, F you for that. We're not friends anymore. I'm like, is this high school? Meredith was just like, okay, whatever. And that would be my reaction too. I was like, I don't really care. Honestly, I wouldn't be friends with Heather to begin with. I would never tell her anything because, I mean, look at her. She can't be trusted. Anyway, so then from there, we resume talking about the airplane ride. And Meredith's story, girl, this is why we can't get with you, because your story changes. Meredith's story has changed multiple times. So something clearly did happen on the plane. And I think Meredith now realizes her story changed because I think she didn't realize on the show how things were going to be edited to not be on her side. And now she's changing her tune a little bit, saying something happened. Whereas before she was trying to act like nothing happened at all. And that everyone was overreacting. She's still standing on the overreacting part. But I don't think they're overreacting because, again, I'm looking at Mary. Mary is not putting as much sauce as the other girls are. And also, Andy had to take control yet again of this reunion because they're all talking over each other again. He's like, one at a time, you all will get a turn. You all will get a turn. And so they're all talking about their version of what happened there. And then this part, this is towards the end. Andy asked the important question to Meredith. Did you drink before you got on the plane? The way she did not answer that question and she went into some other thing, and I was like, wow. She basically said that the reason why her and Brittany are not cool is because Brittany was supporting someone who is anti-Semitic. Basically calling Brittany a bigot on national TV. And when Brittany tries to say her side of the story, girl, I don't believe it all the way. These two women, neither of them are innocent, and so it's kind of like, huh? So it turns out that it was all about, so it was a nail lady. It was basically a nail tech that they both had and they're both using. Meredith stopped using the nail tech because she found out all the things that this person was doing that was anti-Semitic, so she immediately stopped. And I guess Meredith made a post to let everyone know to stay away from this lady. And then apparently this lady reached out to Brittany for free promo. She was like, hey, I'll do your stuff for free if you promote my stuff and give me a good review. And this after all the news came out. And actually, it didn't, never mind. Meredith didn't even say it to everyone. It was in the newspaper or whatever. And Brittany is denying knowing this. So she did this not knowing. And then as soon as she found out, she deleted the post and everything about promoting their stuff. So that is where, according to Meredith, where they're not cool. Now, Meredith, the problem I have with you is you be pulling these random things out of your hat after the fact. And you could have said that on the show initially, that that's what happened. Number one. Number two, You weren't giving her this much fever until the TikTok of it all. Prior to that, you and Brittany were doing all right. Like, you were kind of picking on her, but y'all were doing all right. Now, if you were being just passively aggressively picking on her because you don't really like her, that actually makes you look worse, because that means you're bullying this woman from the beginning. Whereas the other women, where they were pouring the water on her, I think they were doing it to be funny, but that tells me you were doing that to be malicious this whole entire time, which also does not help you when it comes to this plane ride incident, because it still is the equal to you are bullying this girl. Right or wrong on how Brittany is. I know Brittany's insufferable. Clearly, Mary feels that way. But Mary would never do what Meredith did. And I think even Mary's been trying to tell you, like, girl, you were doing too much. Everyone's trying to tell you you did too much. Lisa's kind of the only one that's keeping quiet, because we've seen on the show she secretly feels like you did too much too, but she's not going to say that because you two have an alliance. And so basically, Brittany breaks down on stage, but it is giving drama theater because it was a lot. She kind of went a little too, she did a little too much. And she's like, I'm so sick of being picked on by this group. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. Oh my God. I'm so sick of it. Don't you dare call me a bigot. I can't believe you did this. You know what? I'm sick of this ish. And then she gets up and then she storms off stage. And the side note, I want to make it clear before anything else with this review is that Meredith, if you made this whole thing up and tried to deflect the way you did about Brittany, that is disgusting. That is disgusting. I really had more time to reflect. So, like, of course, this, I did the review initially, but then I really sat with it more. And I'm just like, so by no means do I think Brittany is innocent when it comes to all the things that she has done on this show, but she didn't deserve what you just tried to do in this reunion. I think this might need to be Meredith's last time on this show, because that was disgusting. I just gotta call that out. Because I watched back my review and I realized, okay, it sounds like I'm like really completely on Meredith's side until this very last part when she did this, and then I wasn't. I want to make it very clear. Just because now we're bringing racism, into this, and religion stuff into this, and discrimination when it comes to religion. Now we're bringing this into a reunion when it clearly your issues had nothing to do with that before. Yeah, I don't believe that to be true. I'm just gonna say it. So, yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to add to this. I'm gonna squeeze this in my review, but I wanted to make it crystal clear that what Meredith did at the very end of the second part of the reunion was not cool. But Brittany's reaction, I will just say this, which I get she was upset, but like, because Brittany a lot of times in the show is very theatrical and dramatic, that was my initial reaction when I saw it, because I was like, girl, but I understand why she would be upset. Like, actually, I do. But like, I just, yeah. Anyway, that's up, and then she storms off stage. And the side note, the whole entire time when I'm watching Brittany, what is this thing that's like kind of in her dress? Is that Mike? I was looking at it the whole entire time because I was just distracted. Like, what is this piece on her dress? Let me know if y'all saw it. I was trying to figure that out. Maybe I wasn't trying to look at her boobs like that, but it just was distracting. I'm sorry. But anyway, that is where the reunion ends. It is Brittany storming off stage, being dramatic. And Meredith, at this point, she's like, now she's a victim. Now she's being the victim. Whereas, like, Meredith, that's what we've been trying to tell you. You made her the victim. Meredith and her Jedi mind trick of trying to make us think something different. Girl, And at this moment, too, this is where Braun was like, I just wish you would own something. Because Meredith ain't owned nothing yet. She still ain't owned nothing. Oh, and the other thing that Brittany did mention in this reunion, which I'm glad she got to it, she's like, your apology was messed up and weak. It was a weak apology. It was like a non-apology apology. I'm like, I'm glad she called that out because it really was an apology, non-apology. But if you're willing to accept it, fine. And I know why she was willing to accept it because she was trying to move on. But clearly, we never did move on, which is why it's actually extra infuriating that we got no receipts, proof, timeline of this incident after Heather, bad weather, let's just say this, bad weather, kept regurgitating this for 4 episodes straight. If you're going to do all this, we need to actually see it. So I am a little frustrated by that, but were we expecting, or why should we expect any different from Heather? And this is why she makes me sick. You like how I turn it around for being about Meredith to being about Heather at the end? Y'all can tell I do not like Heather. But anyway, that does conclude this review and this reunion. Like I said, overall, I was entertained. Or not entertained. I was entertained by watching it. I do think this is a better reunion than like last season's reunion. Now, does it make me feel any different about the show? Not really. I'm still feeling the same way about the show. It's not that great of a reunion where it's not making me grade the show higher. Where I had to grade at, I'm keeping it there, because it really hasn't done much. I think part of it is some of the stuff got spoiled. Like some of the stuff like that we saw, we've seen the spoilers for. So I guess I'm curious to know what we're going to talk about part 3, because I feel like we got to most of what we need to talk about. I feel like part 3 might be more fluff or whatever, but we'll find out. I saw the preview for part 3, but I don't remember, and it doesn't matter. But anyway, that does conclude this review. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melon Nostalgic Runner, and I will see you next time. Bye.